you wanna tackle next? Like, what's your next move?
Yeah, just a lot of the stuff we talk about through text. You know what I mean? Like just building all
Hmm.
this. Got a couple of clients for just a couple of different industries that I just want to make like podcast episodes for, video content for. So that'll be in the next couple of weeks. But I also been looking into job fairs and everything, so I don't want to rule anything out. It again just happened a couple hours ago. Like, uh,
Yeah,
not tweaking about that. I did press record, so we are recording. Go ahead, say hi to
gotcha.
everybody. Go ahead, reintroduce yourself. I know you, but like, for the newbies.
What's up, everyone? I'm Sam. I'm founder of Terminal. Um, Happy to be here. My favorite podcast on earth, and glad to be talking to my buddy.
He's contractually obligated to say that. He doesn't mean that, guys. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, dude. What's the weather like right now? We got hit by a blizzard in the Midwest, Ohio specifically. Oh.
Yeah, we got the tail end of that. It seems we just had like a week of straight like 45 degrees. That was pretty tough.
In the
But since we're
Southeast,
coming out of that now,
I don't want to dox your
yeah,
location, but
South Florida, South Florida.
yeah, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
the fact that that's still nice. It's still nicer than anything up here.
What are you guys at right now?
We're at 39, but it feels like 80 because it's been -1. No,
Oh, geez, that is brutal.
it's the type of cold that like the iguanas freeze down there,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
everything from my shin down to my toes feels like those frozen iguanas. Like
Oh
that's at least how it's
God,
been. So
that is brutal.
yeah, it's the weird part is iguanas actually do freeze like that, but it looks like AI now. Literally everything, dude.
Yeah, it's so funny. I remember, so I went to school down here, and my first year at school, like every year, we get a week where it hits like 40 degrees or something. And
Hmm.
they sent out like an email blast of like, be careful of falling iguanas from the trees because they're gonna freeze. And like, they always hit students. It's such a funny, weird thing that South Florida has to deal with. It's so strange.
You gotta change schools if you get hit by one and it knocks you out. Like you got to.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Can't go to class if everyone sees that.
Yeah, dude. I don't want everybody to think that I'm swagger jacking you, but I do got my terminal hat on, dude.
Got my terminal merch.
Let's go.
I
For all the people saying that this is for clout, I wear this hat all the time. You can ask my wife. Like it's awesome.
It's good quality stuff, man. And I was gonna say that the value of that's got to go up because I don't know if you saw, we just changed the app icon, and like we're changing a bunch of the branding stuff. So I'm gonna change some of the hats and hoodies and stuff. So you're gonna have a limited edition, first printing of Terminal. So
There you go.
yeah, big deal.
Dude, what is terminal again? You know what I mean? When I tried to explain it to the person helping me with the job fair a little earlier today, and I was like, it's just easier to show you. You know what I mean? So can you go ahead and explain it to people who might not know or who might want to tap into it?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, I will say that I totally agree with you, and I usually do the same thing. Like it is easier to show it because it
Yeah.
is so like it, categorically different. But the way that I describe it is it's a very minimalist social platform that's built from the ground up for conversations, and something I'm calling a conversation network.
Mm.
So essentially, you're speaking into the void, and that's literally what we call the feed on there. So you can imagine it like a Reddit or like a forum, but there's no set groups, there's no set subreddits or areas. You just speak your mind, find the right people, and starts conversations from there. And it's just really fun at the end of the day. So
There's also no weird names that you'll get mad at, like
yeah,
for lack of a better term, Black Troll 6969. Like you can't get mad at somebody like that. You know what I mean? You can only get mad at the idea that's being posted. Like we're
yeah,
keeping it
exactly. Yeah,
simple.
yeah. No handles, no accounts. We want to get rid of like performative postings. It happens everywhere. You'd like to think on Reddit you can like speak your mind, but truthfully, like if you have an account and a handle, even subconsciously, you're trying to perform for that because if you say something on one subreddit, someone can find you and they're like, oh, well, they said XYZ. And there's always the whole tracking down side of it. So I wanted to make it, no barrier to entry. You just speak your mind. Doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. It's just about what you have to say. So
Which
that's the terminal thesis,
it's low key the American dream too. Like,
right?
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of a lot of self censorship. You know, from having those profiles and everything. Like I was on LinkedIn, just switching up my profile a little bit, and you just go through and you scroll through those videos, and it's so awkward to see somebody in a white collar job posting like TikTok type of videos on LinkedIn. I'm like,
Yeah.
what world are we in, dude? You been on there
Yeah.
lately, or?
So I personally, I try to stay off LinkedIn as much as
Yeah.
possible. I don't, there's no value for it for me really. And I need to learn that, maybe I need to use it more. But like, I'm always worried that if like an investor or somebody's looking at my LinkedIn, like there's nothing there because I'm
Yeah.
just not using it. I don't know what to use it for. It's in terms of platforms, it's like one of the most performative I've ever seen. And
Yeah, literally.
I don't know what the value is, especially like the funniest thing too is when, everything they're genius in terms of how they've done this, but they've automated all the interactions on there where like you get a new job and you put it in there, you got a new job. It says, oh, like, would you like to post this that you got a new job? It automatically posts. I'm so excited to announce, blah, blah, blah. And then all the people that follow you, it tells them, oh, they posted this and says, would you like to comment? It's like you didn't write the post, they didn't write the comment, but there's this whole trail of interaction that like seems like it's there, but it's like completely automated. It's genius on their part, but I just think it's so funny that like that is what modern digital interaction looks like.
Well, as great as automation is, it feels better to actually know that somebody who's commenting back actually typed it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's a lot of the reason why I hopped on the terminal. And again, for those of you guys who don't know, like I literally stroke of luck saw terminal as an advertisement on Twitter. So Sam somehow got my demographics, whatever type of data he collects to make this stuff run. Yeah.
You were truly like actually one of the first. And I remember when you reached out, you want to make it seem like this is a whole big thing. But I think you were one of the first like 200 or 300 users. There was like not many people on there at the time.
Mm.
And that maybe even more than there was. It may be like sub 200. So yeah, you've been in it since the beginning. You've seen a lot of the changes over time. So thanks for sticking with us.
Again, contractual obligations to make me feel good right now. He knows I just lost my job too. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, dude. Do, I don't know if you like pay attention to like other builders like that, but the Reddit founders, they said that they faked thousands of users before they actually started garnering interest from it. Like, in that
Yeah,
is that what the
yeah.
startup world is? You know what I mean? For tech, at least.
So interesting about them is they also did that before AI, and I think if they were starting Reddit today, I think a knee jerk reaction would be to use AI to make a lot of those.
Mm,
And from the beginning, that was something I said like I'm just not going to do because yeah, it'd be easier to do that of like have AI pretend to be all these people, but I mean, it just ruins the entire point, especially because there's no accounts. Like if you're just talking to bots, what's the point of this app? So from the beginning, I wanted to be very clear. Like I built the entire platform around not allowing bots to exist there. And I wouldn't say like I faked any of the interaction, but I was the first user. So like whenever somebody would hop on, I would hop on and just like talk with them for hours and hours. And that was part of the testing early on. It's like, if I'm not willing to use this, why would anybody else be willing to use it?
mm,
So anytime somebody joined, see they post something, I go respond to them and like just see what the kinks of the platform are. And I'm still using it like all day, every day. And it's funny, like, if you're doom scrolling on Twitter all day or something, your girlfriend or your boss can get mad at you, like, oh my God, you're not paying attention to me. I can doom scroll on terminal all day and I'm doing work. It's fine. I have to do this for work.
You're one
So
of
I'll
the
spend
lucky
hours.
ones. You're one of the
Yeah,
lucky ones that
exactly.
made doom scrolling part of their job. Like,
Right.
I,
But it's great. Now we have a ton of users now and like there's actual conversations and stuff happening. But it's super fun. I'll just go on, hop in conversations with people, stay on there for hours, and it's my job. So I get to do it.
yeah. When I was talking to that lady a little earlier today, she was like, "What do you mean there's no profiles? What do you mean like people can't see who you are?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, like that's what you want. You don't want people to
Yeah.
judge you based on race, creed, color. You want them to judge you based on what you're saying, and if what you're saying stupid, like yeah, we can
Yeah.
go in there and jump in and comment that it's stupid.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. You mind if I play this video from Terminal's TikTok here? It's the one that's
Yeah,
pinned.
go for it.
Yeah. We'll only play a couple minutes here.
Gen Zers' eyes right now? What do you do? Gen Zers, when you look in Gen Zers' eyes right now, what do you see? They are shell shocked. Their whole lives are recordable, so they're scared to make a mistake. Right?
Which one is
Their
it?
big thing is they don't want to be
probably
cringe.
No,
Like,
that's
so cringe. So one moment can define their whole life. So they're just walking around scared to live.
Yeah. That was like one of the first ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
I'll just keep talking.
happened?
But it's essentially marketing.
We've edited our thoughts,
But saying we've edited our thoughts.
sanitized every word until no meaning remains.
And the first question was, what happened?
Become victims of our own judgment.
Become victims of our own judgment. Like we're saying, like, so
What if we could leave our identities behind?
I'll have to check to see if people can actually hear it, but it's weird how in real life people were actually having the type of interactions and conversations that are on terminal. So you did do a good job of mimicking that. You know, well, I mean emulating it for lack of a better term, but I think the tech lords, I think they genuinely think that we're just like as lonely as they are and are in front of a computer all day and not trying to slide into DMs or talk to girls or go out to the bar or do anything like that. It's a weird time because we all have a black screen in front of our face probably at least 8 to 12 hours a day, but that doesn't mean that the conversation has to feel robotic, you know? Like
I think this is something I think about a lot in terms of like, the what happened piece of this, because that was I don't think that was the intention when they first created social media. But it was a very different style of social media back then. It was the social graph was everything. It was you're talking to the people you already know, but now online, which is really cool because you can have the conversations you're already having with them online. But there wasn't this concept of like digital permanence at the time. And you can go back and look at like old Instagram or Twitter, and it's much more casual. Like people were just saying like, "Oh, I'm eating cereal," or like they would say just random innocuous stuff because it was just like a communication channel. And then over time, as people started to monetize their presence online, you couldn't do it casually anymore because, you have this digital permanence that anything you say is now attached to your digital avatar forever, essentially. So it made people sort of sanitize what they're saying, make sure it's polished, make sure it fits the sort of like right demographic of what they're trying to hit. And so it turned social media more of an entertainment platform, which I don't think is a bad thing. I love TikTok. Definitely. I love YouTube. Like, these are awesome. The thing that I miss about it though is like, I love consuming TikTok, but I'm not publishing it. I'm not contributing to the conversation at all because of that very same thing of like, if I say something now, who knows if I agree with it in the future, and maybe I'll be upset that I said it. Not necessarily something controversial, but just anything. People, your whole identity is based off like what you're saying online. So I think that's an interesting sort of piece to think about is like social media has turned into entertainment, which is okay, but let's create a channel of communication that sort of facilitates what social media used to do,
Yeah. So when you're saying digital permanence, do you think that that's a philosophy that got adapted because we're on it all the time? I understand digital permanence, but where did that mindset come in? Where did it permeate? Because I've been on Twitter since like 2011. You know what I mean? But it doesn't feel any less authentic or casual for me to jump on and actually just talk to people. But you're right. That permanence is...
That's interesting because I was not on Twitter in 2011. I was never really there for the heyday of Twitter. And so now I use it more to see what other people are saying. I've tried to put out tweets. I never get responses. Like just something about the algorithm doesn't pick it up, which I understand because their algorithm is built for something different. Like they have a whole social graph, the followers thing. And so I'm just not really a participant. I don't know any of my friends that are participants on Twitter. A lot of them read through stuff, same as I do. But there's some level of like work that you have to put into in order to be seen by other people. And then in terms of the digital permanence thing, I don't know. It's something that I've just thought about. Like growing up, you would hear your parents talking about like, what you post online is permanent. And I think that's something that's sort of grown in the general psyche over time, where in the beginning when we were kids online, we were just posting whatever, you don't really understand the consequences of it. And as time has gone on, I think we all sort of generally and collectively have come to the understanding that like maybe this is a bit more serious than we were treating it. And I think that has just led to some of the sanitization, especially among my cohort and some of my peers, that I'm not posting on Instagram anymore. A lot of my friends aren't posting on Instagram anymore. People that are posting, like, they're spending a lot of time considering what to post and is it right and all this stuff, which is fine. That it's just a different form of communication that leaves some people out that don't want to be part of the polished side of social media.
Yeah, it just sounds like a lot of brain power put towards being performative when you could actually get to what you want if you just said what you felt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Definitely censor yourself. Like, if you're a neo-Nazi, please, honest to God, censor yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't need that stuff. And that's an important piece, and that's something we get about Terminal a lot, is because it's anonymous, or I try not to use the word anonymous because it brings up this wrong idea that means it's not moderated. Everyone goes, well, that's going to lead to horrible things. Like, no, like, we obviously still moderate it. We have terms of service. There are things you can't say. You can't post whatever you want on there, similar to Instagram or TikTok. There's a code of conduct, essentially. So you can have the best of both worlds. You don't need it to be tied to your name for everyone else to see, but we can also enforce, we don't need neo-Nazis taking over the platform. There's no reason we can't have best of both worlds there.
Well, yeah, you don't want any subgroup or any. It's not just neo-Nazis. Like, you don't want extremist Black Power people, belittling white people. Like, it's really a great platform to where everybody that's commenting and looking at the screens, they're the moderator. It's like, yo, why is this even up here? Type of thing.
Yeah.
The strings are its own group, and that's why I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been testing out some new terminology for it, and one that's really stuck with me is micro forums, which just kind of feels a little right to me, because each string kind of turns into its own forum. So instead of having a subreddit, you just make a post, and then I have a lot of posts where there'll be 30 comments off of the initial post, and on each of those there's separate conversations happening. So it's essentially its own sort of rabbit hole of conversation. So I think micro forum is kind of an interesting way to position this as a new type of media platform.
Yeah. The only thing that's gonna suck is when you get so big that Kalshi's gonna offer you a deal you can't refuse. And now you can place side bets on how well this conversation's gonna do.
Exactly. I mean, listen, I've been burned a couple times by Kalshi. I don't know if that's my cup of tea. I just can't win, man. I don't know. I've tried. Maybe I can't predict the future like that.
I actually can't stand them as an entity. Of course I get it, you trade on culture, that's genius, but practically now we're just monetizing everything, and that's not the type of world we should invent, but it's gonna happen.
I think there's a lot of just it's interesting to me how little of the rules are figured out. All the time I talk with my friends about culture or something, and we have those questions, and all of us I have no idea how that works. So who decides how this settles, or how do you control not having insider information? I think for right now the answer is, I guess we'll see. We're early days of it, but it is interesting to me that we're kind of in the Wild West here. Who knows how this stuff is going to be regulated or work in the future?
Yeah, I don't want things to be traded on, whether I don't have a daughter, but whether my daughter, when she hits her period, stuff like that. That's just weird.
Right. Yeah. So I hope they have their own good moderation team and are handling that. But that's an interesting question. I really wonder how they plan on handling this as it scales in the future. That's a tough one.
Yeah. When you were building Terminal, did you build it for mobile? I know there's a mobile app and a web app, but what would you consider the best experience to be?
Yeah, so that's a funny question because it has changed over time. When I initially built Terminal, I really anybody that's into YC and Paul Graham and stuff will appreciate this, but they always say, go with the MVP. If you're shipping when it's perfect, you ship too late. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what they're saying. And so I had the initial idea for Terminal, and the original version was just a website that had a text box, and you could type what you wanted in it, and then it just said thanks for contributing to the void. The void's going to open up soon. And then while that was up, I started getting some people saying stuff, just enough like I needed some content for when the site launched. And I launched it as a site, and the site was super basic. It's funny, these strings come up every once in a while and you'll see them. It essentially was just the feed. Like you couldn't click on them. There was no comments. There was no, you could just type, it would enter the feed, and then like stuff would pop up. And like that was literally it. So you can see comments or strings from like way back then, a couple months ago, of me saying like, oh, like, comments are coming soon, or comments on comments. Like literally every feature that is like the core of what Terminal is came after we already launched it. So yeah, to answer your question, it started out as a website, and at the time I kept telling people don't use it on mobile because it was just a horrible experience. For some reason, I hadn't figured out how to make it like responsive and work well because the feed was all weird. So like you would constantly have strings overlapping each other, and it was a horrible experience. And then spent a lot of time trying to get into an app. And since then, I've said, the mobile is the way. I am working on making the desktop version better. I know currently you can download it on Mac. I wouldn't suggest it. I haven't optimized it for that. That's just like the natural Apple sort of translation. So there's some huge bugs with it. But I'm working on that. I have some cool plans coming up for how desktop and stuff is working. But yeah, for right now, use it on mobile. That's what I've optimized it for.
Yeah, well, I mean, hearing you talk about, how you built it, that's part of the beauty. That's part of the reason why I jumped on. It's like, hey, dude, people should want to see stuff being iterated. Like, if we're all just in a world where there's a finished product all the time, now there's no story to build. And it goes back to that digital permanence thing. Like, no, like, let's make different versions of things. Let's update things. Let's change our mind. But if everything on the internet has to be as permanent as possible when you first post it, then it's going to get to the point where nobody's posting anything. And that's what nobody wants. So. Yeah.
I mean, that's been one of my favorite parts about Terminal is, especially because it's such early days, I'm able to ship things and change things really fast. So a lot of the changes, I'm sure you've seen most of them because you've been on since the beginning, have come from users. So like a user will request a feature. I'll think on it for a little bit, see if other people are asking for it. And if other people ask, like I'll put it in. And so things change really rapidly. I remember at one point I changed the feed because, the feed right now is auto, for people that don't know, it's auto populating. So like you just kind of look at it and it pops things up at you. And for like a day, I changed it to a scrolling feed just to test it out. So like, I change things all the time, obviously a bit less so now that it's becoming like a real platform. I have to and out the changes. But again, most of the features are coming from the community. I know a big one people keep asking for is like a background music thing. So I'm working on that. I always want to make like a creative version of people asking for, I don't want to do the bare minimum, especially at this point. I've gotten the MVP out there. People like the platform. So any features coming now, like I want to have a little fun with it, make it a bit creative. But yeah, anyone on the platform, please tell me what you want to see. Like I'm building this for you guys. This is not like not a big corporation yet. Still a man of the people. So tell me what you want to see and I'll build it.
I think you'll always be a man of the people, dude. Like just talking to you, like you have a real, for lack of a better term, moderate way of thinking, and you genuinely consider the ideas of the people using it. Like, which is really
I'm building it for them, right? I'm not as much as I like to say I'm building it for me. Unless I have customers, there's no point in it. So I need to make it something that people want to use. So yeah. Give me your ideas.
Can you detail some of the minor changes that you've made so far? The one for me that I enjoy a lot is the recap to where people are talking to me. Like I try and
you like that?
I do like that because it's like I would love, and it's fun to hear that voice say things that you would say in your way.
Yeah.
And then you can also turn that off, which I appreciate, and then just read it yourself and have it scroll through. It's honestly entertaining. Because some of the comments are insane.
I'm so glad to hear you say that because the recap feature was like one of my favorite things to work on, and I've been working on it for a long time. And of my friends, when I showed it to them, the general sentiment is they didn't really like it. But like I'd show it to them, and they're like, "Oh, like could I turn this off?" Like, oh, maybe this isn't great. But what I will say is, a lot of my friends are not the target demographic of the site. And based on how I use it, it solves a real problem of like someone will respond to something I haven't seen in a week. Like I need to know what's going on. And if it's 15 threads deep, like that's going to take some time to like read through and stuff. But what I will say is the recap feature is part of a larger feature set. It's a testing ground essentially. For what I really see as like where the future of this can go. So I don't want to go too into it yet. But yeah, I'll give you a little preview off camera. But I appreciate you saying that you like it, especially as like a core user. That's good to hear. Yeah, I'm really excited for where the recap stuff is going to go, because there's some pretty cool stuff we're working on over here for that.
I was talking again. I was trying to get this lady to download the app, because I'm like, this is cool. Whether she does or doesn't, that's up to her. But I had the thought, like, dude, if I could like post voice notes in this, that honestly, that could get a little freaky, though. You know what I mean? That would take some real finagle on your end.
I'll tell you, I've thought about it. I've considered it. There's a creative solution, and it's being worked on. So I'll explain to you a bit more off camera, but we have some really exciting stuff coming in terms of the methods of interaction on the platform. I'm really, really excited for the next 6 to 8 months are going to be really, really huge. So again, I'm super happy to hear you saying this, because it feels like I'm going in the right direction. So that's a good sign.
You got a good pulse on what people want from your product, which is a lot harder than people expect. I think people just wake up and they're like, "Oh, Google is just like that." It's like, no, you have to troubleshoot 24/7.
Yeah, honestly, the saying no is the hardest part too, because all the time you have these ideas for like, "Oh, this feature is so cool, this is blah blah blah," but you really have to take it back to like, what is the point of this application?
Yeah.
Does this serve that purpose? Or are we completely changing it? And it's okay if you're changing it, but why are you changing it? Is it not working? So there's so many ideas and features that I've wanted to put in that I've had to either table for now or just say no to altogether, just because like that's just not right for what we're building. Maybe it'll be a separate product or something in the future. But yeah, anyone that's building stuff, like especially early on, don't be afraid to say no, because feature creep is real, and that your time is important. So you have to know what's important to your end user at the end of the day.
Yeah, you get so caught up in trying to make the newest iteration that you burn out and you don't even remember what you were building it for. I get that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've done that a bunch of times, especially making videos for people, or just trying to write different stories for movies and everything like that. It's like, no, like, what are you actually trying to say? What emotion are you trying to convey? And if you lose sight of that, you might as well just start from scratch.
Right. Yeah, it's an important part of the creative process. You should be like coming up with these creative ideas, but not everything is going to stick. So if somebody doesn't stick, you have to know like, I love that idea, but maybe not for this video, maybe not for this feature or something,
Yeah, the non-techies don't understand that, the magic that you see in the terminal app or on the computer in general is just as much of an art form as painting on a canvas. It really is. Like it's something that begs me to ask, like, do you, with every new feature or every level up or every new year or every new comment, do you have to change as a person?
Interesting question. Can you explain a bit more what you mean?
Well, yeah, so it's like, because I'll text you like, "Hey, dude, this would be cool." You know what I mean? And you're like, "Yeah, I have thought of that." But when you're actually building and you have that idea set, do you feel like in your mind you have to elevate to a level to present it better to us? Because at the end of the day, I use it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not building a thing. So I feel like the people that have to build constantly have to reinvent themselves in a way. So that's what I was asking.
Yeah, I definitely, it's changed over time. And I think it's important to not hold yourself to one standard the entire time. Where as this is going on and gaining more users, I'm holding myself to a higher standard, because there's real users now. They're actually expecting something. It's becoming an actual product and like a business that I need to uphold the quality of. So with each new feature release, I want to make sure it's more stable out of the gate. I want to make sure it actually adds value and all that stuff. But I will say in the beginning, if I had followed that, probably would have been the wrong path to take, because in the beginning, the important thing was getting something out. So the first version I released was literally like a black screen that said "the void" with like a text box that you could type into. Not polished, not like a great, there is no user experience, not even a bad user experience. There is no experience to it. So if I had held myself to the same standard now at the time, I would have never released it. If I never released that, I would have never gotten sort of a feedback on that, what people like, and build up over time. So I think it's important to, give yourself some slack early on when you're trying to just figure things out. And then once you recognize that you have something that people like, dial in on that, and then you can sort of hold yourself to a bit of a higher standard after that.
Yeah, it's so hard to tell people that though. You got,
because it's a little counterintuitive. You want to think that like out of the gates should be your perfect, the perfect thing you make, and it's something we're kind of taught in schools a little bit of, like, anything you put your name on, you should work to the best of your ability.
yeah.
And I definitely agree with that. But also, like, releasing something early does not make it, not to the best of your ability. Obviously, work hard on what you're doing and care about your craft, but it's never going to be perfect. The version that Terminal is right now still, to this day, does not include the feature that was the core idea of Terminal from the beginning. That's coming later, but it's if I had waited to, till that feature was ready, it still wouldn't be out.
Right.
So release the minimum version of it that works, that you can get feedback on, iterate over time, and maybe you'll find that the original idea you were going after was the wrong idea to begin with, or you'll just refine it over time. But you're right, it's definitely a little bit counterintuitive. It's hard to think that way, especially in the beginning.
I wish it was like that for videos, dude. Like editing videos, even shooting. It's like that stuff darn near has to be perfect. Like,
Yeah, true. I think that's why it's so confusing for some people, because a lot of different, forms of media are completely different. You're totally right. Like, I think the first time that you're starting to work on videos, you should be okay with it not being a Scorsese film. But when it's your like profession and stuff, like, yeah, you have to make it perfect, or like the best of your ability. So that is sort of a tough thing to square away, because it's not the same for everything in life.
yeah, and I had to get rid of the notion that everything that I was gonna put out was gonna be perfect. You know what I mean? But that's also why I like you a lot, because you are like, no, this is gonna be good because I'm good, not because it's the best it's gonna be right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you can launch. There's somebody at YC that has said this. I'm sure many people have said it. But it's something I really like, because your brain doesn't naturally think this way, but you have essentially unlimited launches, especially in the beginning. Everyone thinks you launch the first time and then that's it. That's your story for the rest of the time. That's your biopic. That's the movie they're going to make about you. It's like, at the end of the day, you're probably not going to get a biopic, so don't be thinking that way. I think that's a really destructive way for people to think, is like they're trying to write the script for their movie. Like, you're going to make so many mistakes if you're trying to do that. But also, like, you can launch over and over. I've relaunched Terminal, I don't know, maybe 10 times at this point. I'll do a soft launch in this demographic and see what hits, and another one here, another one there. Like, the overarching story of Terminal is written, I suppose, but the you can launch over and over and over, so you don't have to get it right the first time, because just do it again. But for the amount of users we have right now, there's a million times more users that can potentially be on the site. Not everybody that's could use the app has seen it yet. So, like, it's a big ocean out there. Just keep trying over and over and over.
Yeah, I mean, you can even take that to life too, dude. Every day you wake up, you're relaunching who you are. So
Yeah,
it makes
100%.
sense to take that to Terminal there. But I want to reiterate to people, like, this is the rawest social media platform that I've ever seen, dude. Like, it's something that what you said 5 minutes ago does not actually matter. It matters to the people that will see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you can come in and there's nobody's gonna click on your profile and it's like, oh, your profile is getting hits, upgrade to premium. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No one's holding you what you said before. Of like, if you have a new opinion now, and somebody looks at your profile and goes, well, you used to say this, like what changed? Like, you know, I want to allow people to change what they think. I want to allow people to change their opinion and change how they think about things. Or, you know, even on the same topic, if I'm having a conversation with one person, my view on a topic may be very different from how I'm talking to it with another person. There's so much to human interaction that I think having a history tied of everything you've ever said is probably a pretty bad way of approaching interaction. So
yeah. Do you actually know people who try and live their life like somebody's gonna make a movie about them?
I think it is insanely common amongst the startup scene. To be clear, I'm not very in the startup scene. I've seen it a little bit. You know, I'm not there yet. But among people I've talked to, you can definitely get the vibe. And if you go on like the YC subreddits and stuff, or you know, anybody up and coming in the scene, if you talk to them, a lot of times they watch The Social Network, and you know, everything they do, they're thinking about, well, like he didn't do that in the scene, so I need to do what he did in the scene. It's like, for one, remember, it's a movie. That's not actually what happened. Like, it's so funny that people that will like, I don't entirely believe that Zuckerberg used the same language that he does in that movie, you know, because a Hollywood scriptwriter had to write it to make it entertaining and make it fun. The true history of it was probably a bit more sterile and a bit more, you know,
like,
boring.
He's not that big of a dork, dude. He probably
Right, like it was a much more like normal, everyday sort of thing. So I think a lot of people potentially make decisions with the idea of like, well, this would be a cool sort of contrarian thing to see in the movie, or like that'll be a good scene. Like you'll see it all the time of like there's somewhat of like a meme online of like the performative startup people that like film themselves like coding for 13 hours or something, because I think in their mind, like that's their montage scene, which is cool. If that gets you working, totally fine. But I don't know. I think it's just a little bit funny to like view your story as like, this will be in the movie one day. It's still a little funny to me.
As a reformed loser myself, like, yeah, yeah, I mean, somebody who's like, yeah, no, I mean, not even a ThinkPad. I don't even remember. I'll text you the picture I'm mentioning, but like having someone take a picture of you doing something on a screen, what is that gonna do? Yeah.
Listen, and I don't want to hate. Because the thing is, the reason I know this is because I've thought this too. Like, this is not like a unique thing, and I think it's very much just normal to human nature of like you're doing what you've seen before and what you look up to. So I think it's totally normal. I've done the same thing of like, you know, you want to look like a hacker, or you want to seem, and that's fine. If that gets you working, go for it. But when you're making like important company decisions, maybe think about it a bit more. I don't know.
Yeah, that's where the pause before you post comes in. Like, I can see somebody with no structure who wants to build an app doing that, right? Like, yeah, much like myself, somebody that just wanted to build things, but like, as you mature, yeah, and people don't like hearing that, you know, hearing this hard medicine, but like, as you mature, bro, you just want to get it done. You know what I mean? That's the famous part. That's the cool part.
Yeah.
Like, not looking.
But if your product is the media, like some people's product is the media of like doing a startup, and that's totally fine. Like if that's what you're doing, you know, by all means. But I think there's and a lot of people would disagree with me on this, and I am not coming from any position of, you know, I know better here. My personal opinion is the whole build in public, I don't necessarily think is the best choice for everybody. I've seen a lot of people prescribe it to like all startup. If you're starting in 2026, you have to be building in public. I don't actually entirely believe that. I think you would know better than anybody else the amount of time and effort that goes into making this media stuff, of making TikToks, making videos, making podcasts. Like it's not like something you do on the side and just it's sort of chill. Like you have to put your real like heart and soul into it. Yeah. So to do that while also like doing a startup, I think if it's not directly advantageous to have that media side of it, you just skip it. Like just work on what actually works, and only do that if like that's important to your product.
Yeah, and again, you're preaching to the choir, because you know Hey, do you know who Trevor Wallace is, the comedian?
Yeah.
Yeah, but his Gary Vee videos are hilarious. But that's true. It's
Mhm.
like watches Gary Vee once, and then that's your whole persona. But
Yeah,
if you're
yeah,
actually trying to build a business and be an entrepreneur, then just be yourself and do it. You
yeah,
are right though.
yeah,
If there's a lot more relationship building and massaging, and a lot more sales and marketing that go into anything that happens before you see a camera get turned on. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's like, people are like, oh, you can do it from your computer. All you need is an internet connection and a good computer. And it's like, no, you need some skills, and you need to not be a jerk when you're talking to people because you think you're going to be the best. Like, it,
yeah, yeah,
it's a lot more, man. Like, when I'm reaching out, like, we've developed enough of a rapport where I can just talk to you. But like when you're talking to businesses or people who are trying to elevate themselves, like, there's a certain decorum that you have to have, dude, until you get to that point to where you don't need it, or that
mhm,
just becomes who you are. And a lot of the people who are building startups and apps and stuff like that, they're skipping that part, and it's like
yeah,
you
yeah,
can't, dude.
yeah.
Are there any updates that aren't out yet that you can tell us are happening? Selfish question,
Um,
I know.
yeah. So I will say there's like I want to tell. I
Look
want
at
to
his
tell
face. Look
everything,
at his face, guy.
because I'm so excited about it, and like I want to scream from the rooftops, but at the same time, I don't know why I wouldn't tell it, but it just feels like I shouldn't until it comes out. You
No.
don't announce the iPhone until you announce the iPhone. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
literally. Make
So
yourself
I
say
will
Thanksgiving
say,
if you have to.
yeah, right, exactly, because I want to say it so bad.
Don't,
Um,
don't, don't, don't.
but there's more coming in the idea of the recap thing.
Okay.
Um, let me think what else. That's the big one. Um, I could probably say this: more media types. Like I think we're going to launch video at some point. Probably like a short form sort of because I still want it to be conversational.
Yeah.
I don't want it to turn into like a TikTok type thing. And this is something I'm still considering. It's not 100% coming.
Yeah.
But throwing around the idea of having like a video, so you can do a video response to somebody, for example. So more media types are certainly coming. Video may be one of them. Polls, other things like that. And that's all I'll say for now. I'll tell you after the call because there's a ton planned.
Yeah.
But it's not soon enough on the timeline that I want to give it away yet. But I'll
That's all right.
I'll give you a sneak preview.
That's all right. Yeah, and I'll
Yeah.
take a picture to show you that I'm not recording. I probably, I wouldn't do
No worries. I
that.
trust you. I trust you.
But still, can I ask about the live feature? Because that would have slapped me at the
Yeah.
Super Bowl, dude. Or doing all
Yeah.
these
So
MMA fights.
that's yeah, if anybody that's been on the app for a while, this is an example of a feature that was rolled out for like literally a weekend and then rolled back. Yeah, there essentially was a feature called Live that switched your feed from being a historical feed. Like right now, you'll get something from that was posted today or maybe something from months ago. And Live was tied to specific events. And it was essentially like a live crew chat of everybody in the feed. So this is something that I had tested it out actually for a music festival down here.
It was successful.
And there was a couple.
It worked.
There was a couple issues with it. For one, I should have thought about the infrastructure issue of I was giving people these wristbands with the download QR code and stuff. But if anyone's ever been to a music festival, you'll know like there's no service at these things.
At all.
So nobody could download the app. So we only got like a few downloads from that. And so because of that, we just never reached the critical mass of people in the chat at the same time. And I think just the platform wasn't mature enough at the time in terms of total users. The infrastructure was just not really there. Some of the features that we have now weren't there. But you're right in terms of like the whole Super Bowl thing. So that was actually what gave me the idea is early on the app. A lot of my friends were using it, and like if they were ever watching a either a football game or basketball game or something, I would notice they were all sort of talking about it at the same time on the app and sort of create like an explosion of a certain topic at one time. So I wanted to segment it off into its own mode. And so I think that was just an example of something we tried. Platform wasn't there yet. I definitely see down the road maybe being able to return to this in some fashion. It would probably look a little bit different than it does now, because so much has changed since then. Back then, you had your terminal keys, and like that whole system has completely changed. But I totally agree. I think there being like segmented live posting is a cool idea. But we'll just have to revisit it down the road once we see sort of how the platform matures a little bit.
Yeah, no, you explained that right, or very well actually. Like for the people who weren't on Terminal, it was something that I was completely excited about, because you could have went to any event that was posted on there. I want to ask, piggybacking off of that, are there any like platforms or creators of these platforms that really catch your eye and you're like, oh, I like the way they do things? Something that helps you kind of build. Not, we were just talking about the whole social network thing and not making this a biopic or anything like that, but there's got to be a couple people. I think last episode you were like, nah, I really kind of just like do my own thing, which is great. There's got
I would say in terms of I don't think there's people I follow, because it's, again, the same idea that like if you copied everything Steve Jobs did, you wouldn't become Steve Jobs. Like, you, at the end of the day, you are you. So like trying to copy somebody else's routine, it's not really beneficial. They had that routine because it helped who they are. So I wouldn't say like I follow any people, but I will say that I'm obviously always looking at the landscape of social media. There's some that I think are really interesting, particularly live streaming. I think is a super interesting form of media, because it's the first one that really I didn't grow up with. So like when I grew up, it was mostly YouTube. It was like my main form of social media. I love, or main form of like online entertainment. And then obviously like sort of the Reels and TikTok era I was there for, but I was never really part of the streaming era. So it's something I'm learning a lot more about. And I think it's similar to Terminal, a really interesting, different form of online interaction that is still growing and obviously is changing a ton. It started as mostly like a gamer thing, but now it's funny. Like, I don't know if you know the history of Twitch, but it initially started as Justin TV. It was one of the first YC batches. This team, essentially, these kids, just figured out how to do live streaming, and it was just this kid Justin. It was like live streaming his life 24/7. And so it's funny, after that, when it turned to Twitch, it became a big sort of gaming thing of everyone sort of gaming, watching through the game. But now we're seeing it turn back to the lifestyle vlog type streaming, where you have people like the Kai Cenats and things like that. So yeah, I just think that's a really interesting area of social media that I'm definitely keeping an eye on and seeing what I can learn from that, because I'm always into something new, something culture changing, and I think that's definitely a place where culture is heading, and I don't know enough about it right now, so I'm trying to learn.
Yeah, I think the scariest part about live streaming is that it's just too immediate. There's no barrier.
It's so strange. Yeah, it's one of those things, like there's no comparison for anything we've seen previously, because we've had live TV, but I think everyone recognized that live TV in the past was always sanitized to some extent. Like there's always been some form of like, it's produced, there's a company behind it, but now like anybody with a camera can do live broadcasting to millions of people. Like, who knows what's going to happen from that? And I think we're starting to see some of the result of it, not necessarily in a bad way. I think this opens up a lot of interesting avenues for online interaction, and we're right on the beginning of it. I really think streaming is really just starting now.
Whoever can come up with a combination of 360-degree viewing and live streaming, and like imagine if there was a device where you could look at all of the strings that Terminal goes through, like 300. If people could see 360-degree up, down, sideways, everywhere, dude, it's like. And you could live stream that. You know what I mean? That would be insane. I'll tell you what, it's definitely something I've considered, and it's in the area of, I have no idea how to implement this yet. There's something there, absolutely. It's like, I remember one of the first things that you were writing about on the platform was about like having it on like VR goggles, of like something like that. And I think it's in a similar category of like, there's absolutely something there.
I want to see how this matures a little bit to see what the right implementation of it is. But I totally agree. I think there's some form of like live stream, live interaction, 3D, something or other that can be done with Terminal. That's really, really interesting. And I just want to
100%.
spend some time, seeing where it goes.
Yeah, just honestly, it's a lot like the Avatar movie. I just don't think the tech is there yet, and
Yeah.
that's a beautiful position for someone like you to be in because you're iterating and constantly evolving, not only as a builder but with Terminal in general. So when it actually comes out, you'll be able to integrate it fast because the tech
Yeah.
will be there. So
Yeah.
it'll be dope. Let me ask you about OpenClaw, man. You know about that? We talked about it a
I
little
am
bit.
familiar. Yeah, we did talk about it a little bit. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm honestly curious to hear your thoughts on this because I'm somewhat uneducated here. Of I don't know what to use it for.
Oh,
Um, I've seen a lot of the hype around it online, and I know you've been using it a lot. So I'm curious to hear what you're using it for. But yeah, I don't really. I guess I don't really get it yet.
this is guy, and I want you guys to know that Sam is truthfully a humble person. How many founders will you ever hear on an interview say, "I'm uneducated on something, please help"? Like, literally, that's all I know. But
I'm here to learn, man.
yeah,
I need to learn.
literally, no, you're a good dude. Man. I like Yankee your chain. It's fun. But OpenClaw. First of all, my initial thoughts on it is truthfully like 3/5, 4/5 of what I was doing is done for. Like you know what I mean, as far as building technology goes and is concerned, because it controls your operating system. So
Mhm.
if for just a very simple example, if I wanted to turn up my volume, all I have to do is connect it to WhatsApp or Telegram or iMessage, things of that nature, and ask it to.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
um, what makes it great, and people who regularly listen might not understand this terminology a little bit, is that it's completely agentic. So it'll automate itself and give you updates. And you're essentially just talking to something that's continuously working, i.e., having an internet connection and having your computer turned on. So I'm still using it to build things. Again, I don't have all the knowledge either, but it's something that completely revolutionized the world, and nobody can fully explain what it actually does. like,
Yeah, I mean that's the interesting part to me. Is it feels we're so early that even the early adopters like don't know what to do with it yet. To my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it just the interaction layer between like a Cloud Code type instance or an LLM and just like a general tool belt where it's able to use any tools within a normal computer? Is that the right understanding of
that's
like what
a
it is actually doing?
that's actually a good explanation. Like so you do have a good grasp, but it's that, and it's on HGH. Like, it's that, and it can do pretty much anything you ask it to. So yeah, you can use it as a regular, Claude type of co-work type of thing. But I remember because the week before Claude co-work came out, and then OpenClaw came out, and I was like, okay, OpenClaw is completely different because you can install it on any machine. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, versus you can install an app and start using Claude, but it's not controlling anything that you actually need to get done hardware wise, and that's the huge difference. So the guy, I don't even know the dude's name. I just know that he built something great, but he literally made what Iron Man was using in those movies. Like,
Oh yeah, like just a general like Jarvis kind of
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. It's like,
Huh.
hey, and you can name it anything. So use like, hey Jarvis, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
I need you to constantly monitor my battery because for some reason my computer overheats, and I have to constantly keep it plugged in. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I can do that. Do you want me to set up a job to continuously tell you? What times do you want me to tell you? And it'll literally spell it out for you and just automate it on its end. So when you're getting these updates, you already know what it's doing. And
Mhm.
if you don't want it to do something, you literally just text it like, "Hey, dude, I don't want you to access this. I don't want you to create a bank account and withdraw money for no reason or add money to something and get me locked up." And it won't do it. So the only reason it probably won't get mass adopted for the next couple of years is because people are afraid of the security aspect. But
Yeah.
it for guys like you, for guys like me, we can sandbox it. You know what I mean, we even talked about through text that you could, and I actually asked
Mhm.
it, and it was like, yeah, no, I can create a sandbox environment. Do you want to see what I'm doing? You know what I mean? I'm like,
That's
yeah, no, show
sweet.
me.
Yeah. I definitely want to look more into it because I haven't installed, I haven't played around with it at all. But just hearing what you're saying about it, um, I definitely, it sounds like it needs a better interaction layer.
Right.
Um, but I think that opens up just so much um, new use cases for
Mm-hmm.
AI in general. Like you said, it being able to like optimize specific sort of systems level operations is super interesting to me. Um, my initial like gut feeling is that we'll look back on this in like 10 years, and this is like the GUI of the AI era of like that was the beginning piece. Or maybe we haven't figured out the GUI yet.
Right.
This is like the kernel that allows the AI to actually interact with your hardware and software. Um, but I think we need to work on the interaction layer because I think there's something really really cool that you can do there that just hasn't been done yet.
Yeah,
But
it's just not done.
listen, I love AI specifically for this reason of growing up. I always felt like I missed out on like I wasn't there for the internet rise.
Mm-hmm.
I had just started doing programming during like the mobile game era and stuff like that and like iOS apps. But I wasn't there for like any real transformative technology. And now AI, like this is a really, really cool time to be in tech. Because even if you're not working on one of these big model companies, you have stuff like OpenClaw coming out, and all of a sudden you have these superpowers that you never had before, and like you get to decide what the next generation of human computer interaction looks like. That's really cool.
And human to human interaction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just just walk me for a little bit. Let's say I'm in supply chain management, right? And for whatever reason they let me use OpenClaw. So I'm like, okay, hey, Jarvis or OpenClaw, I need to make sure that this is the most efficient way to do this, and I want to save $10,000. Can you watch my process and show me how this happens? And it's like, yeah, no, explain to me what's going on, or I can set this up to show you. And once you show it, it's like, well, you can take this here. I can automate this process here. I can make this a one-click solution here. I mean, it's fascinating. But you are right,
Yeah.
like about the GUI and everything. You can hook it up to different apps, and you can. It has its own dashboard, but it's not like a HTTPS. And for those who don't know, it's not a secure website for you to get into.
Mhm.
It's not its own thing. It's on your machine, which is why people are scared of it. So,
Yeah, I could definitely see a world in which, when we before the Macintosh and the Lisa era, before the GUI, like you interact with the computer through the CLI, and so there was a certain level of technological understanding you needed of like what the commands are, how does this computer even work to begin with, and we refined the GUI over the years to I think kind of its final form right now, where you still need some understanding. I think a lot of us see this like in our parents or something,
mm-hmm.
where there's certain things that just make sense to us because we've sort of grown up with this technology. So the people, there still is a learning curve to it.
For
And so I really think having like a custom interaction with your computer where it's not window based, it's not like a file system in the same way. That your Claude agent or your OpenClaw is handling all of that side of it, and you get to interact with the computer in any way you want, whether it be visual or voice or text or something. That's where I see like this could be a really cool future of
this guy's
it's more
smart.
open ended.
This guy's really smart, guys. So for those who don't understand all the terminology, when he says GUI, he's talking about the buttons that you see at the bottom of our screen right now. So pressing stuff like that. But he went a step further in saying like, hey, how is it gonna evolve? To me, I think it's gonna be hands free. You know what I mean? Like it'll be a lot of voice commands. It'll be a lot of touch screens, but I think there'll be especially with like smoking being the new, or sitting being the new smoking. people getting arthritis and carpal tunnel from typing and texting all the time, I think there's going to be a genuine shift into having hands-free devices, having meta glasses, having an
Yeah.
earpiece that can complete the same thing for you. That way, me and you talking like this can be just as seamless as being in real life. There's not going to be
Yeah.
8, 9, 10, 12 mediums that people have to learn to jump through, and you got to be the
Right.
tech wizard to have a conversation online anymore.
Yeah. I've always been a big proponent of like getting rid of the, especially when AI came out. I think this sort of leads into that of like getting rid of buttons. If you're on like Word right now or Excel or something, you have a whole toolbar of buttons up top, but like you're realistically using a few of them. Most of them you probably don't even know what they do, but they're always there. They're taking up real estate on your screen that is like useful real estate. So having a version of your computer in the future that like is not the flow is not deterministic of like you press this button to do X. Instead, you sort of tell the computer what you're trying to accomplish, and it is able to accomplish it for you or build like a custom UI for you. That doesn't necessarily mean everybody uses the same UI. Everyone has the same tool belt. Because if I'm not using a certain feature, why is it always in my PowerPoint? Why is it always in my Adobe Photoshop or something? I think it's a really cool idea of like you said, like if we could have this conversation, but I don't need to be in a Chrome browser with these buttons on the bottom. Like I have the information I need, and that's it. I think it's a really cool future that we're probably building towards.
Yeah, you're in 2036 right now. So, yeah.
I hope that's the future. I think that'd be really cool.
No, that is the future, dude. It's going to be a lot of and I think virtual reality is just an offshoot of what's happening right now. But really, augmentation is going to be what it is. And for those who don't know, and I'm always going to try and explain things for the people who are just here for different types of interviews. But it's good to know for the future so you can keep a job, and not be at mercy to these tech lords and everything like that. Dang, I forgot what I was saying exactly. But augmentation. So it'll be like wearing a contact lens that gives you the same user interface that you see on your computer right now. It'll be stuff like that. It'll be an earpiece that'll give you all your commands, and that you can command it from there versus getting arthritis. You know what I mean? Texting all day. So it'll be stuff like that. And it's slow. It'll be slow and it'll be gradual. But once it happens, and again, much like we were saying with 360 and everything, once the technology is there, it's going to be like, why wasn't this happening 15, 20 years ago? So,
yeah,
awesome.
I think you're right that it's gradual, because there was something I saw recently that I was like, that's a really cool idea of, especially like you're using OpenClaw, which is perpetually running, I assume. Like it's always going. Yeah, so that's always running. Same with like Claude Code and these other agentic things. Like you could have it run for multiple hours on end, but sometimes you need the human in the loop if it needs to ask you a question or something. So like on your point of like sitting is the new smoking, like sitting at your desk and typing all day. So it's really cool post of this person that had built essentially like a Claude Code client on their Apple Watch. So they would set it up to like do a task or something that's going to take like 4 or 5 hours, and they'd go for a run or something. And when on the run, the Claude pings them. It's like, hey, I'm working on this piece of it. Did you want to go with this feature or that feature? And they go, oh, like I want to do that feature. Make sure we use like this API or whatever. And so you can still answer it and like you're still using it, but you don't need to be at the desk talking to it. Like the where you interact with it can be anywhere. I think that's really a cool like next level idea. Tech Twitter has some cool ideas on this stuff.
No, dude, I didn't. You got to send me that. Like, imagine hiking. Yeah. Imagine hiking up a mountain and you can still do your work. You know what I mean? Like, but almost completely hands free. Or I'm not even talking about like taking calls or sending emails or anything. I'm talking like hard, like deep work that can be done for you while you're working on your body and your physical fitness. Because let's be honest, everybody has bad posture. Nobody can really socialize anymore because we have this black screen in between us all the time. And that's just where we are. But where we're going is where people like you and me get to really start to create. And like you said, with AI, like it's gonna be the catalyst for that. So that's why things like Terminal work, because whether people realize it or not, they can see the future and what they're looking at right now. Not to get like super philosophical on people, but the reason why people gravitate towards stuff, the reason why social media worked, is because people saw the future without being told. You know, it's
Yeah.
kind of like spoon feeding them gradually.
Hmm.
You know, so it's awesome, man. It really is. Do you got anything to say to the people before you get out of here? We eclipsed the hour mark. We're at like 65 minutes, which is great.
Man, I could talk for hours with you, bro. This is I always love these.
I only got the
I
mic for
know.
like 20 minutes, 20 more minutes.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Always a great conversation. Check out Terminal if you haven't already. If you have any ideas for it, please put them in there. Big news coming soon. Yeah. As always, thanks for having me.
Yeah, the merch is fire too, guys. Don't, yeah. Can you tell them where to get that in Terminal? Because I had trouble finding it at first.
Yeah. So on the top left corner, you have your terminal drop down that has like all of your app controls, and at the very bottom, there's a tab that says artifacts. And if you go there, you can find all the terminal merch, and you can get it before we change the design. You can have a small batch.
Hey, Sam, dude, thank you. I love you, man. I love you. I can't wait
Thank
to
you,
talk
man.
again. Hopefully next time we can actually get in person, but if not, it's still good.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording. You guys can stop listening. Go build something that's worth waking up for, guys. See ya.